Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiriyet Shavatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto Bhadrani Vidhunoti Sruhasatam Nashtaprayasha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Hare Krishna. So today we'll be covering Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 84. The sages' teachings at Kurukṣetra. Last Sunday we covered Shri Shri Gauratai ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan ki jai, Shri Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai. So last week we covered last Sunday Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto, Chapter 83, where Draupadi inquired from the queens of Krishna as how they were married to Krishna and how Lord Krishna accepted them as his wives. And today we will be covering Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto, Chapter 84, the sages' teachings at Kurukṣetra. So this is the event continuing from the previous chapter. We will cover the very first verse. Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto, Chapter 84, verse 1. Shri Shuka Uvacha Shutva Prita Subalaputriyata Yagyaseni Madhavyatha Kshipita Patnya Uta Swarkopyaha Krishne Akhilatmani Haro Pranayam Buddham Sarva Vishimyuralam Vashu Kala Kulakshayah. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Shukdev Goswami said, Shutva, hearing, Pritha, Kunti, Subalaputri, Gandhari, the daughter of King Subala, Atha, and Yagyaseni, Draupadi, Madhavi, Subhadra, Atha, and Shitipa of the kings, Patneha, the wives, Uta, also, Swa, Lord Krishna's own, Gopayaha, gopis, Krishna, to Krishna, Akhila Anubandham, attachment, Sarvaha, all of them, Visasmehu, became amazed, Alam, greatly, Ashru Kala, with tears, Akula, filling, Akshayaha, whose eyes. Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Shukdev Goswami said, Pritha, Gandhari, Draupadi, Subhadra, the wives of other kings, and the Lord's cowherd girlfriends were all amazed to hear of the Queen's deep love for Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and soul of all beings, and their eyes filled with tears. Purport. Draupadi is the chief hearer in this assembly of exalted women, since, as explained by Srila Sridhar Swami, she had asked the question that Lord Krishna's queens answered by relating their respective stories. Since Gandhari and the other ladies named here were not even mentioned in the previous chapter as have been presented, Acharya Sridhar concludes that they must have heard the queen's narrations only second hand. Indeed, Draupadi would never have spoken so freely in the presence of Pritha and Gandhari, her elders, or before the gopis, whose attitude toward the queens of Dwarka were not particularly sympathetic. Even though the gopis joined in shedding tears, it was more because of their being reminded of Lord Krishna's pastimes than because of any loving affinity between them and the queens. We should remember, of course, that there is always perfect harmony on the spiritual platform. Apparent conflict between pure devotees is nothing like mundane envy or strife. The jealousy of the gopis was more show than substance, being exhibited by them as an ecstatic symptom of their overflowing love for Krishna. Srila Sridhar Swamipad further analyzes the phrase Swagopyaha as implying that these gopis were the queens Swaswarupa, the original prototypes of whom the queens were specific expansions. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnana Timrandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tadaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So continuing from the previous chapter, where all the queens, they narrated how they were married to Lord Krishna and how he had accepted them as his wives. So starting from Rukmini, Satyabhama, Satya, and so on, Kalindi and so on, and also the 16,100 queens, and their chief spokesman was Rohini Devi. So she's different than the mother of Lord Balaram, Rohini. So there are two ladies with the same name. Hare Krishna. And here, as the narration went on, this particular verse addresses how everyone's eyes were filled with tears. And even the people who heard it secondhand, like Pritha and Gandhari and other elderly ladies, their eyes were filled with tears when they heard this amazing pastime of Lord Krishna, as how he had accepted all these queens as his wives. And continuing further, again Srila Prabhupada's time, sometimes when you talk about Lord Krishna's pastimes, they say, oh, Lord Krishna was himself present. And Srila Prabhupada also glorified that this planet Earth is very lucky, very fortunate, because in our universe there are thousands, innumerable planets, thousands of planets. But then when Lord Krishna, he decided to descend, he descended on the planet Earth on the request of Bhumi Devi, when she was asking for the burden to be to be relieved from planet Earth because of the demoniac kings who were ruling the planet at that time. So when Lord Krishna appeared, many people say, oh, he was himself here, so it was easy to take to devotional service. But that is not the case. Srila Prabhupada reveals it in one of the incident when one of his devotees came, and he came and he was saying, oh, Srila Prabhupada, I am so fallen. I try to give advice to others, and even though I am right, they tell me that I am wrong. Hearing this, Srila Prabhupada paused and then he replied, oh, they criticize Lord Shri Krishna. Hearing this response from Srila Prabhupada that they criticize Lord Shri Krishna, the devotee thought that, he was bewildered. He was surprised that he was thinking that Srila Prabhupada is telling him that you are criticizing Lord Shri Krishna. So he said, no, Srila Prabhupada, you don't understand. I am not criticizing Lord Shri Krishna. Then Srila Prabhupada responded. He said that even when Lord Krishna was present on this planet Earth, only a few hundred people knew that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Most of the people, they didn't, regard him as who he was and thought that he is just a mystic, he is just a human being. So I'm paraphrasing Srila Prabhupada's comments in here. So he's just a normal human being, and they didn't regard him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they did not take to devotion. So it is only the very fortunate souls who are able to recognize him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus serve him and attain perfection during that pastime, during his pastime, during the Dwapar Yuga. And here, all the kings and their queens, they are gathered. There are 4 important incidents happen in series. The first incident that happens is that the great sages, they come to Kurukṣetra. Hearing that Lord Krishna and Balaram are there, they're eager to see them. These sages, they came. Now, the sages have been narrated as Srila Vyasadeva, his spiritual master, sage Narad Muni. Then Vishwamitra, Vashishta. So again, we know that Vishwamitra and Vashishta, they have had some conflict in the past. Yet at the same time, their aim is, the goal is same, to serve Lord Krishna and to be able to see Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram on this particular occasion. Asita, even Kashyapa Muni is there. Kashyapa Muni is same, his another expansion is Vasudeva. And King Vasudeva is going to perform sacrifices at Kurukṣetra. So both of them are there. So sometimes it becomes very hard to imagine. And that's why some of the pastimes, they are considered to be inconceivable from the very concept. And Angira Muni is there, Gautam Muni is there. Even Lord Parshuram, along with his disciples, he comes. And so many other, even Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the demigods, he is there. So all these sages, they come to see Lord Krishna and Balaram at Kurukṣetra. They come to know that during the solar eclipse, such an auspicious time, Vasudeva is going to perform great sacrifices at Kurukṣetra, and so they have come to see and participate in this event. So at that time, when they see Lord Krishna and Balaram, they immediately get up from their seats and pays obeisances. So they paid obeisances to these sages. And this startled the sages. They get bewildered. So, Brahma Vimohana has been explained where Lord Brahma gets bewildered. And in this particular case, all these sages, when they see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna and Lord Balaram, and the lordships, they are getting up and paying obeisances and welcoming them, the sages, they get bewildered. Namo Brahmanaya Devaya Go Brahmanaya Hitaya Cha. So Lord Krishna is always showing by his example how, he is the worshipable deity of the Brahmanas, yet at the same time, he is always seeking the benefits. He is always benevolently disposed towards the Brahmanas as well as the cows. And he is showing by his example here that how a Brahman should be respected, how a sage should be respected. So it is very important to know who's a sage. So who's a sadhu? Is a person who is wearing saffron color clothes, is he a sadhu? Or is a person who has got big beard and long hair, is he a sadhu? Jatas, we call like locks. It is very nicely described that Devashi Narad, when he receives this spiritual body, after the maidservant's son, he leaves his body as the maidservant's son, and then simultaneously like thunder and lightning it is described. And his hair are blonde, his golden locks, they said. So he's actually a blonde gentleman, and he's wearing deer skin. That's not saffron, it's deer skin. And he's blonde. Similarly, 2 other personalities have golden hair. Can you think of them? Kapil Dev, Devhuti's son, he has got golden hair. Another one is Agni Dev, he's got golden hair. So it is amazing to kind of like see that there are, personalities who are blonde in this particular occasion. And Vyas Dev, he's there. Krishna Dvaipanya Vyas. So Krishna Dvaipanya, his name is Krishna Dvaipanya because Krishna also has a meaning as dark, black. And Dvaipanya is one who took birth on a dweep. Dweep is an island. So as these sages they come, and Lord Krishna and Balaram, they pay obeisances, they greet and welcome these sages, and and how is welcoming done of the sages of the Brahmanas? By washing their feet, by massaging them, and by making them really feel, placing them on nice, sitting them on nice asanas, giving them proper paraphernalia to glorify them. We covered earlier the Sudama Brahman, he was greeted in a similar manner by Lord Shri Krishna. And after this welcoming, Lord Krishna addresses these sages, and there are great instructions from this incident. Lord Krishna says that, O sages, today our lives have become perfect, This is because we can see you, we can touch you, we can inquire from you, and we can learn from you. So he is showing us that, association of the sages is so important that when we meet a sage, when we meet a sadhu, and we still are looking for the definition of sadhu, right? Sadhu is a person who is fixed in his devotional service, who is constantly engaged in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's the definition of sadhu given in Bhagavad Gita, and not just a person who's wearing saffron or who's got long hair or big beard, who's very aged. Those are not the right symptoms. Those are the outside, appearance. While a true definition of sadhu is that he is a devotee of Lord Krishna, and by his behavior he is showing everyone how to engage in serving Lord Krishna with determination, patience, full enthusiasm, and of course there is one quality that's paramount that's needed. And what's that? Lolyam, greed. Greed to seek service and, serve Lord Krishna. In the association of devotees and following the previous acharyas, following the 9 process of devotional service. So now a person thus engaged is a sadhu. And Lord Krishna, he continues to glorify that when somebody goes to pilgrimage, only to take bath and not associate with the great sages, the devotees of the Lord there, then such a person is a gokhara. Go is a cow and khara is a ass or donkey. So such a person is a cow or a donkey if he does not associate with the devotees and learn from them how to engage in devotional service. Inquire from the devotees, the sages, the sadhus, as how one can make advancement in their spiritual life. So that is the essence, as there is a description given where Lord Krishna is elaborating this particular point at length, that even the Ganges waters, when one takes bath in Ganges water, after a long time they get purified. When one worships the deities that control the fire, the air, water, earth, ether, and so forth, when they serve them, they get purified after a long time. While just by associating with the sages, one can easily be delivered. Also in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 22. Now the chapter 22 in Madhya Leela, the very topic is the science of devotional service. Where Lord Chaitanya is, giving this instruction as how devotional service is to be performed. He is, describing the complete science of devotional service. And there it is also said, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Gaya, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Haya. Now there is a wonderful story behind this, that explains this or elaborates this particular verse. So, Sadhu Sangha, association of the devotee, is glorified. Sarva Shastakaya. And all the scriptures are glorifying the importance of the association of devotees. Love matra. Love is 1/11th of a second. Just 1/11th of a second. That duration. Sadhu Sangha, even as association to a sadhu, even for 1/11th of a second, is so, elevating. Sarva Siddhihaya, that one can attain all the siddhis. Which means actually that association should be also oriented towards, inquiry, serving the sadhus, inquiring from them, and then taking those instructions to the heart to follow in your life. And you follow those instructions, then your life becomes perfect. So that's the essence. There is a wonderful story of Amrish Maharaj. His brother, that's going to elaborate. We'll come back to the topic as how Lord Krishna is elaborating and glorifying the sages. So this story is very important. Amrish Maharaj, he had a brother. And his brother, he was not a devotee of the Lord. Rather, he was, Godas, a servant of his senses. He was engaged in sense gratification. And so, Amrish Maharaj, he was always worried. Vaishnavas, they always, paradukha dukhi. They become dukhi, which is distressed, by seeing others' distress. So he was worried about his brother. So when once Devashi Narad visits him, he says to Devashi Narad that, could you instruct my brother? Could you, you're such a great spiritual master. Could you help my brother? So Devashi Narad said, okay, I'll try. And as Devashi Narad, he approaches the palace where, Amrish Maharaja's brother, he was enjoying, with wine and, dancing girls and so forth. As he was enjoying, he hears Devashi Narad, and Devashi Narad, at the very sight, when Devashi Narad starts to instruct him that how he should take to devotion to Lord Shri Krishna, the king gets up and he chases Devashi Narad with a club in his hand. And Devashi Narad, he immediately runs. And the king is chasing him, and Devashi Narad is running. And the king, he's furious. And when the king becomes tired, he's really tired, and he pauses for a moment. At that time, Devashi Narad takes that opportunity that he's tired, he's not going to attack me. He says, you should take to devotional service. He says, what's the importance of taking devotional service? He says, okay, you will be taken, if you don't take it, means again, because of your karmas, you will be taken to Yamraj. So you should ask him one question. He said, okay, what? He says that, ask Yamraj, what is the benefit one derives from love matra sadhu sangha, from a momentary association with a devotee? So he says, okay. And then he says, you won't disturb me? He says, no. And Devashi Narad goes away, and the king, he returns back. So as during the course of his lifetime, he dies, and then he is taken by the Yamdutas to Yamlok. And Yamraj, he asks him, you have done so much sinful activities, but apparently you happen to have some association. So what is it that you want? He says, I have that question. He is remembering that Devashi Narad had asked him to ask a question. And remembering that incident, he asked the question that Devashi Narad had instructed him to ask the Yamraj. That what is the benefit one derives from associating with a devotee, even momentarily? And Yamraj, he is surprised. Such an exalted question coming from such a sinful king. And he says, well, I do not know. What is that benefit one derives? So let's go and ask Lord Brahma. So actually, maybe they go to Indra and then they go to Brahma, and Lord Brahma also says the same thing, I do not know. And let's go and ask Mahadev, Lord Shiva. So they go to Lord Shiva and ask the same question. So the king is asking, what is the benefit one derives from a momentary association with a devotee? And Lord Shiva is also surprised with this question. He says, we will have to go to Vaikuntha and ask Lord Vishnu. So they take the king to Vaikuntha and then they say, okay, king, you should go and ask Lord Vishnu. So the king enters Vaikuntha and he goes to Lord Vishnu and he asks that question, and Lord Vishnu starts smiling, and then he's looking at the king and he reveals what's the benefit. Sarva Siddhi, all the siddhis, everything that is attained. So Lord Vishnu, he is saying, love matra sadhu sangha, you have come to Vaikuntha. And even if I desire, you cannot leave. So that is the benefit one derives from love matra sadhu sangha. And so Lord Krishna at Kurukṣetra is glorifying the devotee association. Sometimes devotee association, we just think, okay, some people who are gathering together and doing kirtan, yes, because wherever there is kirtan of the Lord is, sung, then of course all the persons gathered there are identified as devotees, and more devotees are attracted to such gatherings. Congregational chanting is what we say, Sankirtan. So this is showing us the importance of sadhu sangha, and that sadhus should be properly regarded. And brahmanas are, the varna, that is, very much Brahmana Devaya. So Lord Krishna is said to be the worshipable deity of the Brahmanas, the worshipable Lord of the Brahmanas. So as all the sages are hearing this, they're bewildered. And so Vyasadeva and others, they start glorifying Lord Krishna in response. They say, oh Lord, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And you have appeared in this material world, by your, internal potency. So you have been accompanied here. And the importance of internal potency, she arranges the whole pastime for the Lord, Yog Maya. She makes sure that, everything is nicely arranged for Lord's service, yet at the same time she bewilders even the devotees. So King Vasudeva, he would think of Lord Krishna as his son, not as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Nand Maharaj and Yashoda will think of Krishna as their Kanha, their baby Krishna, always. Just to kind of even cover the vision of their devotees, of his devotees. So Lord Krishna and Balaram, they are being glorified by the sages in this manner. And the example given, the metaphor that is given here is that of sun. Just like sometimes the sun appears to be covered by clouds or by fog or by other planets, like this is solar eclipse time when this gathering is taking place. Similarly, Lord, you appear as if covered by Maya, but that is not the case. Maya cannot cover us. Just like clouds, they cannot cover the sun. So if you have taken a flight, when the plane goes above the clouds, you can see the sun very clearly. It is not that the sun is covered, it is our vision that is covered from seeing the sun by the clouds. And again, it is not the planets that are covering the sun during solar eclipse, it is our vision that is hampered by the other planets like moon, who is covering the sun. So, and Lord is beyond the three modes of material nature. He is the Lord of the material energy and not being lauded by the material energy. So that is important. Yet at the same time, the sages are glorifying, yet you are performing your duties so perfectly. You have appeared here as son of Vasudeva, and you are associating with the Yadus and the Vrishnis. And all these associates of yours, they are thinking of you in this manner as their relative. Yet at the same time, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are the Lord of all that can be. And so the sages glorify Lord Krishna. And at that time, as the glorification ends, the sages are about to leave. And as the sages are about to leave at that time, King Vasudeva, father of Lord Vasudeva Krishna, he immediately approaches the sages. He pays them obeisances, and then he says, "Oh, great sages, please, and he's inquiring. He's actually inquiring, and he directly addresses sage Narad Muni. He says, "Oh, Narad Muni, how can one overcome or remove the sense of his work through other work?" And at that time, as the head of the sages, Devashi Narad, he responds that, the result of a work can be removed by another work, which is in devotion to Lord Shri Krishna, Lord Hari. And Lord Shri Krishna is already present in this assembly. And in the response, Devashi Narad reveals great secret. He identifies that there are three kinds of debts one takes. Debts in Sanskrit is known as rina. So when someone is born, they take on three types of debts. And it's specifically given for the Dvijas. So Dvijas are the second initiated personalities. So again, which are the three varnas that are second initiated? Brahman, Kshatriya and Vaishya. Shudras don't go through the second initiation. And they just serve the other three varnas. And in this particular case, there is a specific verse that's given. Ranestribhir dvijo jato devashi pitranam prabho yagyadhayanan putrestanya anisturya tejan patit. Dear Prabhu, a member of the twice-born class is born with three kinds of debts. And then further, those three debts are elaborated. The debts to the demigods. Hare Krishna. Shishi Gauranatai ki jai. Shishi Radha Madan Mohan ki jai. Shishi Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai. So as the three debts are being described, I will also identify why those debts are there, and then what is the remedy for those debts. That's going above and beyond the translation. The three debts. The first debt is debt to the demigods. And why do we get this debt? Because demigods provide us anna, grain, which sustains us. And in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna explains that, in return, we need to perform sacrifices to repay the debt of the demigods. So by performing sacrifices, various offerings are made to the fire. And the mantras end with the word Swaha. Swaha is who? Swaha is wife of Yagya, Vishnu. So Yagya Purusha is an expansion of Lord Vishnu, and his wife is Swaha. So we always give the offering to the mother who delivers it to the father. And Yagya Purusha is then, distributing to the various demigods. So also it is said in Bhagavad Gita that when someone worships demigods, they are worshipping the Lord indirectly. And this is not the sign of an intelligent person, so the word used is less intelligent. So by performing sacrifices, one can pay the debts of the demigods. One can repay the debts of the demigods, which is acquired by consuming the things that sustains our life. Now the second debt is to the forefathers. We receive this material body, the human body, because of our father and forefathers. So there is a debt to the forefathers. And this debt is repaid by having children, by begetting children, and specifically sons. Why? Because there is Shad ceremony, Pindadan, Kriya. So Arjuna addresses that in Bhagavad Gita, that if there will be Varna Sankaraha, if there will be inappropriate progeny, then this Pindadan Kriya will be abolished, means people will not perform the Shad ceremony, the offering of rice to the forefathers, and so forth. So that is the importance, that you have to perform the Pindadan. So for that you have to have a son who would perform the Pindadan. So you are continuing the generation That is the way to, by begetting children, you repay the debt acquired by of the forefathers, from the forefathers. So, and the third one is the debt of the sages. The sages are the instructors, right? They are the acharyas. And they teach us how to live this life, in devotion to Lord Krishna, how to seek spiritual advancement and how to work towards spiritual advancement so that we can go back home, back to Godhead. Everything that we acquire in this life is actually given by others. Our body is given by our parents. Knowledge is given by our teachers. The food is given by the demigods. So in essence, nothing is ours. Yet at the same time, when we get a lot of these three blessings, we think we are very important. And Srila Prabhupada used to give that example as well. Once, it was in Los Angeles, the Srila Prabhupada, he was saying that there are innumerable universes. And each of these innumerable universes, there are innumerable planets. And among these innumerable planets, on one planet there are many countries. And of those countries, there is one country called America. And America, there are many cities. Of those cities, there is one city, Los Angeles. And this one city, there are many streets where there are many houses. And of this, there is one street. And on this street, there are many houses. And of this many houses, there is one house, this temple. And this temple, there are many devotees. And this temple of the many devotees, there is one devotee who thinks, I am very important. So again, everything that we receive is because of the mercy of others. And so we are under debt. But then, sometimes we have this audacity, we have this propensity to think that we are very important. So, again, when Devashi Narad is elaborating this particular point, that two of the debts of Vasudeva you have already paid. You have Lord Shri Krishna and Lord Balaram as your sons. So you have paid the debt to your forefathers. And then, to the sages, because you are performing the austerity of speech, mind and body. So that's how you pay the debt to the sages. By, living a regulated life. And so that is how he's being described, that King Vasudeva is very fortunate. And even though he thinks of Lord Krishna as his son, just merely a boy, Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so, Vasudeva is instructed that he should continue to perform the sacrifices, because by sacrifice, he would pay the debt to the demigods. So at that time, Vasudeva, being very intelligent, he immediately uses this opportunity and requests the sages to be the priests for the sacrifice. And it is described that the sages, they agree. Srila Prabhupada used to give this example. Whenever something, good is being suggested to devotees, we should, without even thinking, just say yes. And Bali Maharaj, he exemplified that aspect as well. So in this particular case, very nicely, the sages agreed. They initiated Vasudeva and his queens, his 18 queens, by sprinkling of holy water, and then they are dressed very nicely at the sacrificial arena. The sacrifices are being performed and being carried out as per the scriptures, injunctions. Everything is done perfectly. And after the sacrifices are performed and the complete ceremony is over, at that time, King Vasudeva, along with the sages, he takes bath in the 5 lakes that were created by Lord Parshuram. And after that, they all dress very nicely with silken clothes. All the kings and all the associates, they're very nicely dressed with jewelry and so forth. And they give lot of offerings to the sages and to their associates, all the brahmanas who had gathered there. And sages being satisfied, they leave. After the sages leave, King Vasudeva, he addresses Nanda Maharaj that he is eternally indebted to to Nand Maharaj for his wonderful, affection towards Vasudeva. Nand Maharaj had taken care of Krishna and Balaram when Vasudeva was in prison. He was imprisoned by King Kamsa. So Nand Maharaj reflects, he responds back in affection that it was the affection of Vasudeva that he is able to have such opportunities and so forth. So there is wonderful exchanges between the two. Now one is a Kshatriya, another is Vaishya. So there are two different varnas, but they are calling each other brothers because of that loving association. And they are saying that this particular association, this mode of association, which is, is definitely created by Lord Hari, because it is so benefiting. It is in devotee association that we progress, right? So alone, a rishi, when he is doing alone, once a devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, that Srila Prabhupada, what about all these yogis, they attain Brahman, do they fall down? Srila Prabhupada said, yes, they fall down. And the reason he explained was, because they get lonely. They are alone trying to do all this meditation, samadhi and so forth. Without the association, it is very hard to continue to make spiritual progress. So because, a yogi feels lonely and he is always, we are pleasure-seeking entities. So that's how it is described. Now, understanding that devotional service is so easy, so Vasudeva, he performs all these sacrifices. He is having association of Nand Maharaj and the residents of Vrindavan. The residents of Vrindavan, the inhabitants, they stayed with the Vrishnis and the Yadavas for 3 months. And just before the Chaturmasya, the rainy season was approaching, at that time, Nand Maharaj, he takes leave along with the inhabitants of Vrindavan. And seeing that the Chaturmasya is approaching, all the Hare Krishna, Yadus, Vrishnis, all of them, they go back to Dwarka along with Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram. And this is where the chapter ends. Now there is very important lesson that we have to understand that, when Vasudeva, he is performing all these sacrifices, that is appropriate for that age. Devashidaran has said that you should worship the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. So there are specific sacrifices that are prescribed for each of the 4 yugas, 4 ages. Krite tad dhayate vishnum tretayam yajato make dvapare paricharyayam kalo tad hari kirtanat. Krite tad dhayate vishnum. Krita age, in Satyuga age, dhayate, by meditation on Lord Vishnu. Treta Yuga yajato makehe. In Treta Yuga, the perfection is attained by offering oblations in fire as sacrifice. Dvapare paricharyayam. Lord Krishna himself appeared in Dvapara Yuga. So, by worshipping and by serving his lotus feet, one can attain perfection. Kalo tad Hari Kirtanat. And in Kali age, just by Hari Kirtan, by the congregational chanting of the holy name, one can attain perfection. So, for the current age, the perfection is by chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So Srila Prabhupada always used to identify that Krishna consciousness, the process is simple, but it is not easy. Now the simplicity is also explained in another story that I heard quite some time back. And this story actually exemplifies how this was done. So there was once, father and son, and they were very rich. They had a state home and great land, and they were very wealthy. So this is in US. So this father and son, they were living very affectionately and very nicely in their all comforts. It just happened that there was a war, and the son got drafted. The son went for the war, and then one day the father heard that his son is no more. He died while fighting. So the father, he just closed himself. When such a thing happens, you feel sorrow. So you close yourself from the external world, the outer world. And he was having minimum interaction with the worldly people. So one day there was, somebody knocks at the door of his estate home, and his butler, he opens the door and he sees that there is a soldier standing with a stretcher, and he is holding something, a package. So he calls his master, and he greets this soldier very nicely, seats him, and the soldier says, "Actually, your son died by saving my life. And I know that you, father and son, you guys were big collectors of art. They used to collect paintings, Picasso's and so forth, Da Vinci's pictures and so forth." So he said, "I'm an average painter. I'm not a great painter like them, but I wanted to give something to you as a gift in memory of your son." And I pictured the scene where he's pushing me away while the bullet is dashing and hits him, and he dies. So he gives this picture to the father, and the father, his eyes are filled with tears seeing that picture. And so he looks at this painting, he thanks the young man, and the young man leaves, the soldier leaves. And the father, he takes this picture and he places it in his bedroom. Now, as the course of time goes on, the old man, he also dies. And all his property is put on for an auction. So as it is being put on auction, there were great art collectors they are coming, because they knew that he has rare paintings like that of Picasso, Da Vinci and so forth. They are saying, okay, let's bid and win some of those great work of arts. So as they are gathered, the auctioneer, he says that first we'll start with this painting, the small painting of a soldier pushing another soldier and taking the bullet on himself. So that's the first painting. They were like, no, start with those, Picasso and all that. He's like, I'm going by the will, and the will says that I have to first start with this painting. They're like, okay, somebody painted this. The person is not well known. The painter is not very famous personality and so forth. So they don't have much interest. Now, there was a gardener also of this man. He was also sitting in this auction event that was going on. And he knew that this incident means, again, the painting was given to the old man by a soldier, as a memory of his son. So as the auction begins, no one is making any bid, right? And so the gardener, he looks around, no one is making, so he raises his hand, he says, okay, for $10, I'll take that painting. And everyone says, okay, now that this painting is gone, let's start looking at Da Vinci's paintings and other paintings. And at that time, the auctioneer says, okay, so he has won this painting, great, and the auction is over. Now there is a big commotion. Because other things have not been auctioned. The estate home has not been auctioned, the farmland has not been auctioned, the paintings have not been auctioned, all the factories and the industries he had have not been auctioned. Then the auctioneer reveals that actually, as per the will, whoever gets this painting gets everything. So the gardener receives everything. So that's the blessing. As you can see in our devotional service, the process is difficult, but Krishna consciousness is easy. All we have to take to the process. It is very nicely described. Samashita ye pad pallava plavam Mahat padam pune yasho murarehe bhavam bhuri vatsa padam param padam padam yat vipadam na tesham. Samashita pad pallava padam. Samashita ye pad pallava padam means when one has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna, and these feet are as soft as the flower buds. Mahat padam pune yasho murare. Murari means the killer of the demon Mura. And his lotus feet are the shelter of this material world, as also of the sages. And to such a person, this nescience, the ocean of nescience, which is Bhavam Buddhi, the ocean of nescience, turns to the size of a cow's hoof print. And one can easily cross over the cow's hoof print and attain the Parampadam, the supreme abode, Vaikuntha. and not remain in this material world where there is danger at every step. Now, this particular one is actually has a metaphor in it, this particular verse, where if you have taken a boat ride, how many have you taken a boat ride across river or ocean? Is it easy to take a boat ride? What do you have to do? Take the ticket and just go aboard the boat, right? You don't even have to know how to swim well. And you can take a boat ride. It's so easy. Now compare, if you are asked to swim that distance that you took in a boat, that would be so difficult, right? So that's how it is very easy if you take to the right process of chanting of the holy name in this Kali age, you can attain perfection. So in this chapter, we'll hear how, Vasudeva, he carried on the sacrifices and was able to attain perfection. So similarly, we can also make our life perfect by taking to Sankirtan Yajna, because that is the Yajna for this age. The congregational chanting of the holy name. Sankirtan Yajna means the congregational chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And just by taking to that process, we can be free from all the three deaths. And also in 7th canto, 10th chapter, Lord Narasimhadev reveals to Prahlad Maharaj that once a devotee is born in a family, 21 generations of the forefathers is delivered. So that is another way, So all the three debts are easily taken care of in the case of a devotee. And the devotee can, after repaying the debt, also attain the supreme abode. So that is the lesson in this particular chapter. Hare Krishna. Any questions, comments? Kantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Kori Vaishnavand ki jai, Go Premanande, Hari Bol.